The sky bore no stars on the night Cronus rose again. The heavens, once speckled with silver constellations, had turned an ominous shade of black, as if the cosmos itself recoiled from his return. Thunder rumbled, though no storm brewed, and the winds carried whispers of ancient dread. The Titan, long imprisoned in the deepest voids of Tartarus, had found his way back to the realm of gods and mortals. Cronus emerged from the chasm between worlds, his form towering like a forgotten mountain. His skin, once golden with the pride of a ruler, was now ashen and hardened, etched with the scars of an age spent in torment. His eyes burned with the fire of revenge, locked upon the celestial palace, where his children ruled in his stead. The scythe he once used to overthrow Uranus gleamed at his side, its blade a crescent of pure destruction. The earth trembled beneath his first step. Mountains cracked, rivers reversed their flow, and the trees bent as though bowing before their former master. The balance of the world shifted, and Olympus itself shuddered in fear. The gods knew what this meant. Cronus had returned to reclaim the throne he lost. In the farthest reaches of the council stood Artemis, silent as the moon above. She listened but did not speak, her silver gaze fixed upon the horizon. The gods debated fiercely, some calling for immediate war, others whispering of retreat. But Artemis had already made her decision. She did not wait for consensus, nor did she seek the approval of Olympus. She was not a queen, a general, or a ruler. She was a huntress. And in the art of the hunt, the predator does not wait. As the gods debated, she turned, stepping away from the halls of Olympus. Her bow rested lightly against her shoulder, her quiver filled with arrows that gleamed like trapped starlight. The battle was inevitable, but she would not fight it upon the steps of Olympus. She would not allow Cronus to bring his war to the sacred home of the gods. Instead, she would bring the hunt to him. The land lay in uneasy silence as Artemis descended from Olympus, her footsteps as light as a whisper. The air was thick with tension, the kind that lingers before the storm. She moved swiftly through the ancient forests, the scent of damp earth and blooming myrtle filling her senses. The moon overhead cast silver beams through the treetops, illuminating the path ahead, but she did not need its guidance. She knew where she was going. She knew whom she was hunting. Cronus had already left his mark upon the world. The rivers ran thick with mud, choked by the remnants of shattered earth. Trees that had stood for millennia now lay in splintered ruins, their roots torn from the ground. The animals had fled, their instinct warning them of the unnatural force that now roamed the land. The very fabric of time wavered around him, twisting the air in unnatural currents. Where he walked, flowers wilted, and stones crumbled to dust. Artemis knelt at the edge of a ruined clearing, her sharp eyes scanning the devastation. The Titan was near. She could sense the unnatural weight of his presence pressing against the world, a suffocating aura of dominance. Drawing a single silver arrow from her quiver, she held it lightly between her fingers, testing its weight. It was not hesitation that slowed her movements, but precision. A huntress never rushed the moment before the kill. The earth groaned beneath an unseen force, and in the distance, a shadow loomed against the horizon. Cronus had arrived. His massive form, dark and ancient, moved with a slow, deliberate force, each step resounding like distant thunder. The scythe in his grasp pulsed with raw power, warping the air with its sheer presence. Time itself shuddered around him, bending to the will of its former master. Artemis did not flinch. She was but a lone figure against the storm, a flicker of silver against a mountain of darkness. Yet she did not doubt. Doubt had no place in the mind of a hunter. Raising her bow with practiced ease, she pulled back the string, the arrow gleaming under the moon's watchful eye. She let it fly, the projectile slicing through the air in a perfect arc. It was aimed at the Titan's eye, swift and merciless. But Cronus was no ordinary prey. With a movement that defied his colossal size, he raised his massive arm, swatting the arrow aside as though it were nothing more than a gnat. The impact sent the broken shaft spiraling into the trees, its light fading into the shadows. A low, rumbling sound filled the air, not quite a roar, not quite laughter. It was something ancient, something deeper than mere sound. It was the voice of a being who had known power before the gods themselves had been born. Artemis did not linger. Already, another arrow was knocked, loosed before the first had even landed. Then another, and another. Each found its mark, striking at the Titan's joints, his wrists, his throat. But Cronus moved through them as if they were raindrops against stone. His skin, thick as the walls of Olympus itself, bore no wound. Then he moved. The scythe swung in a slow, deliberate arc, and the world seemed to lurch with it. Artemis leapt backward, her movements fluid, but the very air twisted around her. A tree beside her withered and died in an instant, its bark turning to ash, its leaves crumbling into dust before they could touch the ground. She landed on her feet, heart steady, mind sharp. This was not a foe she could face in direct combat. Strength alone would not win this battle. She had known it from the start. Cronus was not just a Titan. He was the Titan King, a force of nature bound only by the chains of time itself. To fight him as one would fight a mortal enemy was folly. The forest groaned beneath the weight of battle. The very air seemed to shudder as Cronus advanced, his every step reshaping the land beneath him. Artemis moved with the grace of the wind, never lingering in one place long enough for his scythe to find her. She was a blur of silver, a whisper of motion against the backdrop of devastation. Yet, she knew she could not run forever. A hunter must know when to strike, when to wait, and when to draw her prey into the trap. Cronus swung his blade once more, the motion slow but inevitable, as though time itself yielded to his will. The force of the strike sent shockwaves through the land, splitting the earth into jagged chasms. Trees, once proud and ancient, were uprooted, their trunks collapsing into the abyss below. The heavens wept in protest, the moon veiled behind thick storm clouds that churned like an ocean in the sky. But Artemis was untouched. She danced between destruction, her feet never betraying hesitation. She leapt onto the broken remains of a fallen tree, launching herself into the air with a strength only a goddess could possess. The moment she reached her peak, she loosed 3 arrows in rapid succession, each one aimed at the Titan's exposed throat. Cronus raised his arm to deflect them, but one arrow slipped past his guard. It grazed his neck, leaving a silver streak where divine ichor threatened to spill. Though the wound was shallow, it was proof that he was not untouchable. Artemis landed with feline grace, already moving before her feet met the ground. The hunter had found her mark. Now, she needed to strike true. The Titan's fury darkened the skies. His scythe, pulsing with the energy of time itself, carved through reality with every swing. The forest aged and decayed where it passed, the ground withering into dust. Artemis felt the weight of his power pressing against her, time bending and twisting around his presence. He was trying to pull her into his domain, a place where he was master, where time bowed before him. She could not allow that to happen. With swift precision, Artemis ran toward the riverbank, where the waters still flowed freely despite the chaos around them. She did not wield the storms of Zeus or the seas of Poseidon, but she understood the land, the stars, the rhythm of the hunt. And she knew how to make even a Titan bleed. Cronus followed, his massive form blotting out the sky. His presence alone disturbed the river, its waters rippling as if resisting him. Artemis did not stop. She sprinted across the surface, her feet barely touching the water. Cronus, blinded by fury, stepped forward without hesitation. That was his mistake. The river was sacred, an ancient force beyond even the Titans. As Cronus waded in, the waters rebelled, dragging at his limbs, slowing him just enough for Artemis to strike. She knocked her final arrow, its tip glowing with the light of the moon, a weapon forged for this moment. With unerring precision, she released. The arrow struck true, burying itself in Cronus's forehead. A burst of silver light erupted, shaking the heavens. The Titan staggered, his sides slipping from his grasp. The wound pulsed with divine power, unraveling him from within. He reached for the arrow, but it was too late. The The laws that once bound him reclaimed their hold. With one final roar, Cronus was swallowed by darkness and silver light. He was gone. The river stilled, the earth steadied, and the hunt was over. Artemis stood at the river's edge, her breath steady. The scars of battle would remain, but life would heal. Without a word, she turned and vanished into the forest, her task complete.